reminiscing about my crazy involvement with Area 51 research. In October of 1988, I had an opportunity to watch an interesting 2-hour syndicated TV program produced by Fox Television entitled UFO Cover-Up Live, in which Area 51 was only briefly mentioned. In the summer of 1989, I was listening to a late-night Las Vegas radio talk show, The Billy Goodman Show, which I could catch in the LA area, in which an alleged former government scientist named Bob Lazar was appearing almost nightly, talking about his work at a secret base just south of Area 51. And in early November of 1989, I made my first trip to Rachel, Nevada. When I arrived there that evening, the Rachel Bar and Restaurant, now known as the Little Alien, was filled with people and was quite noisy. There was a large party given by Billy Goodman. Billy Goodman had come to Rachel with a huge chartered bus filled with his listeners who were interested in going near the place where Bob Lazar was talking about, even though Rachel was 25 miles north of Area 51. In 1989, I also attended a MUFON conference in Las Vegas, in which a wide array of controversial personalities such as John Lear, Bill Cooper, Bill English, and Bill Moore were all giving presentations. I was totally fascinated by all these events and personalities. However, those days were my days of gullibility and immaturity. In December of 1989, I was contacted by Nippon Television NTV of Japan to help produce a 2-hour special program on Area 51 that was to be shown in Japan. And so, on February the 21st, 1990, I took the Nippon Television team to Bob Lazar's residence in Las Vegas to interview the so-called former government scientist. After the 4-hour interview, Bob Lazar gave us instructions on how to get to the point where we would probably see a test flight of the craft. You can watch the film footage in the comments section of this video. At sundown on Wednesday, February the 21st, the television crew of 8 and I set up several tripods right at the now famous black mailbox at Highway 375 at the 29.5-mile marker, the so-called Mailbox Road. And here's what we saw after sundown. Watch the following video footage till the very end. And you can watch all the footages on this video by clicking to the link provided in the comments section of this video. Subsequently, the 2-hour documentary on Area 51 was broadcast nationwide in Japan in March of 1990 and generated lots of attention there when Area 51 was not even a household name in the United States at that time. That was the beginning of my 10-year span of involvement in the research on Area 51. I really wanted to get to the bottom of this mysterious base. What truly was going on over there? Was there any extraterrestrial technology there? However, those years were my years of naivete and immaturity. I began a loosely knit network called the Civilian Intelligence Network, together with Gary Schultz of Santa Monica. Since then, I made countless trips to the perimeter areas, including climbing atop white sides to view the facility from the distance in 1991, 1992, and 1993. I also had an opportunity to climb atop the Freedom Ridge very early in 1994 to view the facility before it was placed off limits to the public. In December of 1990, I even organized and led a 25-car caravan to Area 51, together with Gary Schultz, and invited an LA Times reporter to cover the event. The article appeared in March of 1991 in LA Times. And in May of 1991, a group of 7 vehicles that I was leading came under dangerous harassment by a military helicopter, CH-53, on Groom Lake Road. Here are some of the photos of that incident. Dark chopper tries to crash S4 UFO party, written by Don Ecker of the UFO magazine. In 1992, I co-sponsored the first Need to Know seminar at the Little Alien with Gary Schultz. The Little Alien was filled with people, standing room only, that evening. The only speakers at that seminar were Gary Schultz and yours truly, Norio Hayakawa. However, among the audience that memorable evening were John Lear, George Knapp, Bob Lazar, Bill Cooper, Sean Morton, Lincoln County Sheriff Dal Bradfield, and a whole wide array of personalities, all under the same roof, intensely listening to our presentation. In those days, I was very much into conspiracy theories. However, I had a very different take on the subject matter. My belief then was that there was nothing alien about Area 51, that the so-called extraterrestrial connection to Area 51 was just a convenient cover story brilliantly concocted and promoted by the government to conceal developments of new military weapon systems integrated with avionics and aeronautics technology. Nevertheless, I was categorized as part of the fringe personalities. But again, those were my years of gullibility and immaturity. In 1993, Gary Schultz and I organized the first Ultimate Seminar in Rachel. There were about 200 people that came from all parts of the U.S. for that seminar. Bob Lazar was the main speaker. He drove in from Las Vegas with his Corvette, and his license number was MJ12. That seminar became his first public speaking appearance. It was held at the parking lot of the Little Alien under a huge military tent, which Joe Travis later on, I believe, said that he borrowed from the base. It was around that year that Glenn Campbell, a computer analyst from the East Coast, had settled down in Rachel to find out what was going on at Area 51, hearing all the commotions about the goings-on in Nevada. He subsequently made an extensive research on the whole area and became a major source of coverage in the major media concerning the secret base. Glenn Campbell discovered the spot known as Freedom Ridge, the view of the facility from which was slightly closer than the white sides, and the rest is history. Therefore, I was one of several Area 51 activists during the pre-Glenn Campbell years, the years when Area 51 was still not a popular secret base as it is now. Towards the late 90s, my interest shifted to more realistic issues surrounding Area 51. I became more interested in the plight of former workers at Groom Lake. In 1998, I organized the first People's Rally at Area 51 to bring attention to the media, the situation of the workers, and other relevant issues. In January of 2000, I decided to retire from further active research on Area 51. I also began to abandon conspiratorial theories, realizing that Area 51 is a vital research, development, and testing complex that is here to stay no matter what. I believe it is vital for our national defense. However, if you're still interested in Area 51, I highly recommend you to go to the world's largest reality-based information site on Area 51, operated by my friend and colleague Jörg Arnew, the Dreamland Resort. Please watch all the film footages of this video in the link provided in the comments section of this video. This is Norio Hayakawa in Albuquerque, New Mexico.